Welcome back to part 2 of my conversation with Bethany Joy Lenz. If you're just joining us, I highly recommend going back to part 1, because what you're about to hear is the continuation of a story about identity, faith, coercion, and the long, messy road back to authenticity. And do yourself a favor, go grab her memoir, Dinner for Vampires, Life on a Cult TV Show while also in an actual cult. It's an incredible read. In this second half, Joy and I talk about the aftermath, what it costs to unhook from a high control system, and how it reshapes your relationship to trust, friendship, and intimacy. This is where we get into the fire and the forging that happens after. It's such a mindfuck. And the other thing I was thinking about, what your leader in your book, Les, I hated the sweet, saccharine way he spoke because I knew what he was doing. And the thing that I hated was that some of it sounded reasonable.
Yeah.
And some of it sounded true.
It has to.
And I was like, this is the thing that people don't understand, like they use the right words. In fact, they use some very good words. And their arguments are quite good. But most people have never been trained. I think you said in your book, like, the thing about me is I believe people. And I was like, yes,
yeah,
I get it.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful. And that's the thing, that's the big blind spot, is that we hear the words and we go, oh yeah, they know. But what they're trying to do is so very evil. And to me, there's one thing if somebody acts evil, says I'm evil, and they're like, they do evil things. There's another thing when they wear the clothing of a saint. And they do those things, it hurts. It hurts goodness.
Yeah.
I was wondering how that was for you, because for me it was bad.
Do you mean in the moment or in the end, like in the end on the other side?
Yeah, the aftermath.
Yeah. There was, it does hurt goodness. It really hurt my ability to trust. Deeply hurt my ability to trust. And like you were saying, you're shaming your spirituality. Like it just, you want to cut yourself off from the thing that made a fool of you. And so it's been difficult. Like it's been really difficult to build friendships, because I don't know what they're supposed to look like. Like I never had that modeled for me. And the model that I did have was so incestuous and so like abusive that I still feel a lot like I'm like standing on the sidelines in my friendships, and there's people in my life who I just love so much, but I don't know how to express it. I don't know what's appropriate and what's not. Like I don't want to be overbearing. But I also want to be seen and known, like we all do.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I can relate to what you're saying. In those environments, we shared so much, right? With everybody. You just like an open book with everybody.
All the time. Yeah.
Oversharing, like what the
Totally.
outside world would call oversharing, but in there, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And then you get out and you realize, like, yeah, that's not normal.
Right. People don't do that.
Yeah.
They don't.
But then how do you calibrate?
Yeah, because especially as an artist, I mean, maybe you feel this way too. Like I crave deep connection, deep intimacy, deep like wrestling through things. If you've been in a cult, you've proven that you're capable of maintaining a friendship with someone even when they hurt you, because it's inevitable, because you're sort of forced to stay friends with them. And for all the damage that creates, it also gives you a strength and an ability to hold a lot. So in relationships, if someone outside of that toxic environment, if someone, I find I have a lot more grace, I think, than I ever did, and maybe than some other people that I know, to allow for mistakes and hold space for people to fuck up and still, like, I can forgive you and we can figure it out. It's okay. I mean, I have boundaries, but I have a lot of space to hold.
Yeah.
And I want that from other people, but I don't either know how to ask for it, or maybe most people don't, they haven't stretched themselves to that capacity because of the, experience that we had. I
Yeah.
don't know.
As an artist, when you said that, I was thinking that back in 2018, I was doing trial prep, and I was living in LA, and I was really struggling because, like, every meeting with the FBI was just messed up afterwards, and I was meeting for weeks and months and whatever. But I went to this writing spot, where you just went to write, and I began to realize my writing was different. I thought it was better.
Mm.
And I realized that because I'd spent so much time trying to be perfect and not a real human being, my characters were just boring and flat and uninteresting. When I allowed me to be human, because I realized, like, I have failed spectacularly. I have fucked up a decade of my life.
Yeah.
I have failed. Suddenly my characters could go to the depths of their own failure.
That's
which
beautiful.
I couldn't do before, and I couldn't direct actors to those places before.
Oh.
Like, a part of me felt uncomfortable. And I thought back, at different scenes, and I thought I could have gone further with them, but I was uncomfortable.
Yes.
No?
Yeah. It is a
Being
good
human.
gift.
Being human.
It's the greatest thing in a weird way. It's one of the greatest things that ever could have happened to me, because it shattered me. I am a spectacular failure. Okay. What's next?
I felt that.
Finally to accept it. It's like, okay, great. I guess we all are. Let's keep moving.
I felt that. I felt that because when I came out, I was like, I've just wasted, like, over a decade of my life. Now, that wasn't actually true.
Right.
Because, like, there's shit I know now. Like, I really like who I am now.
Me too.
Like, I'm still salty, and I've got, different perspectives now, and I'm so much more allowing as you are.
Yeah.
I like that. I wanted to talk to you about this fucking proverb that got really abused. Pride goes before the fall, Proverbs.
Mm.
And I actually looked up what the actual thing was. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall.
Mm.
And I was thinking about the way that got used to disembowel the self. Mm. Like any true expression, you were then told constantly you were prideful. I say this because they did the same thing with me. And all you were trying to be, it seems in your book, is just be you.
Yeah, that's right. So anything that's you, that you find delight and joy in, as we all have things about ourselves that we're like, oh, I like that little quirk of mine. Anything was, especially real giftings, like my singing or my acting or anything that was a clear talent, I guess. Those things, all those things were labeled as pride. You shouldn't have pride about any of those things. And it's just an inverted truth. The element of truth that, yes, if I walked around all day thinking about all the things I love about myself, it really would be a problem. But I didn't, and I don't. And there's something really wonderful about ambition and and achieving something and being proud of yourself that you've accomplished something, or liking yourself and being okay with it if other people don't like that little quirk of yours. That's fine. They don't have to.
Yeah. But it's so sad how that was weaponized.
Yeah.
to make you feel like you had to pull back all the time.
So contained, which is again why being on set was like a finally felt like I had some freedom in any way I could. Like I became great with props. It was every little thing in my body just was leaking out for to be fulfilled, to fulfill its purpose. And I was so contained in this other part of my life, my real life, essentially, that I mean, golly, like I just don't know what I would have done without it. I would have
Yeah.
collapsed.
That makes so much sense because your job was to express.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
I just don't know what else I would have done without it.
Yes. That's so interesting because I was thinking about during the years I was up in that group up north, I was a DP. And I directed some things as well, but I got to express a lot of stuff that I couldn't express there.
Really?
Totally makes sense.
And when you were in Nixium too, weren't you filming videos? And I feel like there was some kind of.
I started like doing a lot of stuff internally, but like previously when I was, up north in the Pacific Northwest, I was flying backwards and forwards. I was shooting movies, shooting commercials, shooting this, shooting that.
You had a vibrant creative life.
Oh, I felt so much freedom. And so as I was thinking about One Tree Hill, I was like, yes, that makes sense. That is where you experience freedom.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
That's profound. That is, thank God for that show.
Truly. I mean, it wasn't without its problems like everything, but for me, it was a total lifesaver.
I love that.
Yeah.
Hey, quick interlude. If you're liking these conversations and want to help me keep expressing what is on my mind, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and maybe even follow the podcast wherever you listen. And if you want to go a step further in supporting the show and getting access to some behind-the-scenes rants, you can join me over on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Mark Vicente. It really does make a difference. All right, back to the episode. There was something else you said that really moved me. You didn't say it exactly this way, but I wrote it down this way. Cults are where your dreams go to die.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
Sure is.
It's so interesting how, everything you go in with, the very reason sometimes they want you is because of who you are. And then they want to strip away everything you want.
They just want to destroy you. It's so bizarre. They tell you, and abusive relationships do this too. I've been in relationships with a narcissist before, and narcissists will do this too in a relationship. They just want to suck the life out of you. They feed you. They feed you this idea that they're going to help make your dreams come true, and then they actually just want power. They want to control you. Maybe they want to see all your dreams die because they were able to suck the ambition out of you.
Right?
I don't know.
And I'm wondering to use sort of a biblical reference, I feel like they want to be your God.
Mm-hmm.
Like the things that you love, the things that you quote unquote worship, they want that worship for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
And some as we can talk about offline with a certain film I made. Some want to erode your soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially it's a feel. I mean, I believe that it's just a need to exist, which was also in your film, but the feeling that they don't feel, they don't have a self. So they just have to, it's like if I can't have you, nobody can, and just gonna suck the soul out of you so I can have the feeling of something.
Yes, exactly. There was something else let me just go back. I have a little list here, believe it or not. Oh, yes. I was thinking about the bioparent thing.
Yeah.
So I don't remember if this was in The Vow, but we shot so much. I can't even remember sometimes what's in the series. Nancy Salzman would always say, "Your family."
Mm.
Don't they feel like family? Doesn't he feel like family? Doesn't she feel like family? And the whole thing, and there was even a module in the education to explain that when you went back home, people would try to have the relationship that they had with you before, and it's not working. So they're going to start pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And you just need to understand you're now more integrated than they are.
Right.
And they're trying to reestablish an old relationship that doesn't exist anymore.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And that's what happened with you guys.
Same deal. Same deal. Bio family. Your biological family, we honor them. They are your biological family, of course, but they're not your real family. We are your real family. Chosen family, just like friends, but we all need to have life journeys together. We need to have people we all need to have people on the journey of life with us together. And hey, Jesus did it with his 12 disciples. That's what we should be doing. We need to do life together. You just choose your people.
Oh, it's so fucked up. The other thing that you talked about is the Jezebel idea, and I kept on thinking, like, all cult leaders have to have some explanation when people like fight them or turn against them or don't do what they want.
Yes.
It's Jezebel, right?
For us, it was Jezebel. Yes, that was it. Or we were bipolar. That was his other favorite thing to say about women, that we were bipolar.
Any woman who disagreed with him was bipolar.
Yes. Did Keith do that too?
Exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. The woman that left with his child, he told me one day, he says, well, I think she has brain cancer. I mean, I said, does she have brain cancer? Yeah, she has brain cancer. And so I believed that she had brain cancer and everything. And then I spoke to her when I got out. She did not have brain cancer. I was like, what the hell? And see, all those things, as with you, when you start hearing those things, you go like, oh my God, every single woman that turned against him had a mental illness.
Yes, a mental illness. And everybody who he tried to bring into the group, who saw through it and didn't want to be a part of it, well, they weren't brave enough, they didn't have the courage to go where they need to go emotionally, they were satisfied with a surface level relationship with God. They themselves were manipulators and Les caught it ahead of time and saved us all from a relationship with this person. Or they're jealous of him and that's why they're suing him. Or, I mean, it's just, the excuses are endless. But people like this are marked by a history, like a wake of people in their past who won't speak to them, who have cut ties with them. So it's something I look for now when I meet new people. Just like, and depending on the level of our intimacy, that's a big one. Like, who do you still have in your life? Like how long have you known that person? And just listening for how often someone talks about people in their past that they cut off.
Yeah. You mean you're not friends with a single girlfriend? Like not a single
right.
one?
That just happened with me in a relationship. I realized that I was like, oh my God, wait, did not friends with one ex-girlfriend. And then I talked with many of them and found out why.
Yeah, I always think that's interesting because I find men generally, healthy men are generally pretty loyal.
Yeah.
Like, even if an ex-girlfriend needed something.
For sure.
They would try to do what they could.
Yes. I mean, I'm friends with all my exes. There's one ex I'm not friends with besides my husband. But everybody else, we're on really good terms. And you can just pick up the phone anytime. We're not hanging out because I don't think that would be totally appropriate. But if you need something. I even called one of them actually during that relationship and was like, I'm sorry to bug you, but like, did you feel, this is what I'm being accused of in my relationship. And did you feel that way when we were together? Did I do that to you? And he was like, no, that's not you. That's not true. And so it was really helpful, but you got to have people like that in your life who've known you for a long time.
Yes.
And these guys don't.
I'm going a little bit out of order in terms of my thinking because I want to move to the last part. But I just keep on thinking about it. In your case, there's a certain feeling of devotion you have towards God, people call it source, whatever
Yeah.
the word is for other people. And I keep feeling like they hijack that communion, that relationship. They hijack the relationship for themselves. And then we're tied into them as though they are one and the same with God. And the way Les kept on talking about, like, what God wants, let's listen to what God has to say. And I kept on thinking he's hijacked the relationship.
Yeah. He's now the priest. He's now the high priest who gets to be the only one with contact with God. And then he proffers out the message to all of us.
Right. Which is why when people say, like, well, why didn't you just walk away? Because you're then walking away from God.
Yeah.
What you think is God.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I guess I just didn't have enough of a reason to walk away at that early on anyway. It just felt like, so I felt like I had a mentor,
Mm.
and I wanted to be brave. I wanted to be okay with being uncomfortable and pushing through hard things and being exposed emotionally. I wanted to learn how to be vulnerable. I wanted to learn all these things that I didn't learn in my childhood.
Yeah.
And I thought
Yeah.
this was the way I was going to learn it. So I don't know that I consciously thought I'd be walking away from God, but it did feel like I was leaving like an access point to God. If I were to walk away,
Mm.
it would have felt like
Mm.
I'm going to have to go find another one. Not like, oh, it could possibly maybe be me. Maybe
Mm.
I'm
Mm.
capable of, like I was created to be
Mm.
capable of hearing. It's the logic breaks down so quickly. That's really one of the
Mm.
things that I still struggle with, is how quickly the logic breaks down. And I just never noticed it.
Yeah. But there's a risk in asking the questions that would clear it up back then,
That's true.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel there's this wall that prevented us from asking reasonable questions which other people in our lives were asking. I know we weren't there together, but it
Yeah, yeah,
feels like
yeah,
it's very
yeah.
similar. Reasonable people were asking reasonable questions, but maybe you as well, were probably trained to reason away their reasoning.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's
Yeah.
that I couldn't even entertain their thoughts or ideas or questions because they weren't as brave or enlightened as I was. They
Mm.
weren't willing to do the hard kind of spiritual work that I was willing to do. And so why would I trust them to ask questions or answer their questions? Why would I trust anything they have to say? It's only coming from a place of inferiority.
Mm.
Gross.
Yeah.
Gross.
We used to call it they're disintegrated. They're too disintegrated to understand.
Yeah, there's always some special words for language.
Always.
The language piece in cults also really fascinates me.
Yeah. It's amazing. Was the birth of your daughter, was that the thing that was able to move you?
Yeah. I was so numb at that point, and then I had her and focused totally on the pregnancy, and the marriage was still so volatile during the pregnancy. I was really worried that my stress hormones were going to affect her.
Mm.
And I tried to just stay happy, and it was hard. But once I had her, I don't know, Mark, like I I did that. Nobody else did that for me. Like I reached down and pulled her out of me. Like that is a kind of strength that I had never experienced within myself. And no one else participated in the birthing. It it shocked my system. It like ricocheted throughout me that I am capable. I am way more capable than I'm giving myself credit for. And then over the next year, as I watched her grow in this environment, and I started to see the world as you do when you have kids, you start to see the world through your child's eyes. And so there was this connection that I would see things the way she sees them. And then I would use what I understood in order to communicate with her in a way that I thought she could understand. And so there's this symbiotic thing that's going on. And at the same time, I'm seeing the way she's interpreting her environment, which was my environment, which was abusive and angry and so much arguing and so much coercion and manipulation and lies. And I was just like, I just started to see. I don't think I could have articulated at the time what it was, but I saw that it was bad. And that's when I was like, I'm not going to raise her in this. I have to figure out why I allowed myself to stay here for so long, but I'm certainly not going to raise her in this. And it shifted everything. And I tried a few different ways. I tried, therapy with my husband, and tried to suggest that we don't speak to his family about our personal issues for a year. Let's just take a year off just to ourselves, and we won't ask for your parents' advice or any advice from the group. We're just going to we'll have a therapist, and we'll make some other friends too. And maybe we'll visit another church and just start to these are still our friends. This is our family, but let's branch out a little. And when I started asking for those things and the answers came back, it was like an iron fortress. It was absolute stonewall. I just went, oh, okay. I really am. I'm on my own here. I got to go.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness for your child.
Right? Such a gift. Such a gift.
I had a cult exit counselor. Maybe you and I had the same one. We can talk about it offline. But she would say things like, that there's the horizontal relationships of all the cult members, and then there's a vertical relationship with the cult leader. This relationship that you think is very strong with all your friends and everything, the vertical relation will trump it every single time. Mm-hmm. You have to understand that. And I was thinking about as you were trying to get who you call, I think, QB in the book, mm-hmm. to understand this is our business, not everybody's business. And I was thinking, yeah, it's because that vertical relationship with his father, of course, and with the leader trumped everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a system that's built in that way. So no matter what, if they weren't questioning the vertical relationship, they were always just going to fall into line with whatever he wanted. Yeah. Yeah. So there were another few people in the group who were leaving at the same time that I was, and a couple that were ahead of me as well. And so that really helped because I did have friends that I could confide in because we were all questioning less. I really don't know if I would have been able to do it completely alone.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty common. Yeah, you need a team around you, a few people.
Oh, when you left the group in the Pacific Northwest, did you go on your own, or were there other it didn't disband?
I was completely on my own.
Whoa, Mark! Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah. It was pretty messed up. I lost everybody. A few people would still talk to me, but maybe two people. And then again, the relationship was gone.
Yeah.
And I'd made good friends. I had good friends. And the relationship's gone. The same thing happened with Nixium, though. I just lost the amount of friendships I lost is it still hurts, I had friends in Mexico who I really to this day love, refuse to talk to me. So you understand.
So painful.
Very, very well.
I do.
I just have a few more questions I wanted to ask you. There was a moment, you'll know very well because you wrote it, where I think QB, I think you called him, said to you about your daughter, "I will take away from you." And I thought about the cruelty of that. And I was wondering what that was like for you, because so here you're part of this loving family.
Supposedly.
Supposedly. And then you experienced that kind of, vile cruelty. I mean, what was
Yeah.
that like?
Yeah. That was really, it was really scary to have him in my face with arms on either side and like, I will take her away from you. I will fight for custody and I will win and I will take her away from you. I I I mean that was a breaking point for sure because it was there's no going back from that. There's no like I can trust you again after you say something like that to me. It was terrifying. I'm that was the it lit a fire in me that was it was terrifying and I guess it was terrifying because it's such a horrible thing to have to even conceive of the possibility of. But I was not afraid of him in any way. Like, I didn't think he was about to hit me. I didn't think he was going to, I wasn't afraid of myself with him. I know how strong I am. I know I can fight. It wasn't that. It was the possibility that he actually could have control in this situation in a way that could strip me of my child, like the most important thing in the world to me at that point. I mean, still. So, uh, yeah, it was really horrifying.
Was that like I don't know if there was still a spell at that point, but did that sort of the spell, did that break the spell of like any goodness that you thought was there?
I guess it did. I'm trying to haven't spent much time in that moment since I wrote the book. Sort of
I can
tried to
understand why.
pass
I understand
pass by
why.
it, but there was so much turmoil that night. Yeah, I, th- I think it did. I just can't imagine ever ever trusting him again after hearing him say that. So I think it was like, it's on. It's like, okay, it's on. War. Officially, this is war. I think that's what it was. I don't know if it was that the spell was broken because I was coming out of it so much already,
Mm,
but that was the
mm.
moment that I realized, oh, this is not going to be nice. He's not just going to let me this isn't going to be an amicable, we'll work it out in mediation and sorry it didn't work out. This is
Yeah.
war. That's what scared me. And I think I tried to I tried to continue like playing nice and doing things a nice way for the next, 6 months or so. Um, because I also know he's a product of his environment and he was afraid and he was lashing out because he was terribly afraid. And that's his own thing to struggle through in life. But uh, that I tried. I did try, and then he just they they're ruthless. I mean, they're absolutely ruthless.
No, no, that's the thing I find so interesting is that like that veneer that they'd been sort of keeping up for so long, like when it cracks in your book, you see all the ugliness that lives underneath.
Yeah.
Like all the suppression of their humanity and their like normal stuff, all the veneer falls away in your book, and suddenly like you show us in your book like this is what's underneath everything.
Yeah. It really scared me. That and then his mother trying to like break into my house and having that fight with her at the door and just seeing this she looked psychotic. It was so bizarre how everybody just shifted and then doing exchanges, custody exchanges when you go, or visitation exchanges, excuse me, and having people who were my best friends suddenly standing there flanking my daughter's father as like goons, like we're here to make sure, and like, or they'd have their cameras out, like as though I am someone who does erratic, bizarre, crazy things at any given moment, and they had to protect him because I'm bipolar, Mark.
Oh.
Oh no, wait, actually I have multiple personality. That was the one I heard. I heard
Oh.
he told one person I was bipolar and another person that I had a split personality. So
He did,
they
did
were all
he?
very afraid of me. I'm very scary.
Very scary. You know, that scene in the doorway there. I was like, I've been in a few of those, like outside the courthouse. I had to deal with a bunch of them, my
Mm.
people. I went to a screening in Vermont to try to tell. It was a film festival, and to try to tell the film festival organizers, like, this film they're about to show, there's a real big problem. And all my friends were there, just like yours, and just like hating me, just hating me.
Mm.
And when I read the part of your book, I was like, fuck, I know what that's like. Like, these people who I shared everything with,
Yeah.
now they look at me like I'm the devil.
It really fucked with this is what I'm saying about friendships. Like, have this fundamental fear that I'm going to do one wrong thing. And like overnight, people are just going to be like, never mind. I don't want to be friends with you anymore. And I know it's so irrational. Like, there are so many wonderful people in the world who are capable of like really wonderful relationships and friendships. And I know I would never do that. That's not who I am. But when you experience that, I mean, I don't, do you have that? Do you experience that? Or did it not hit you the same way? Like, it still feels like it's in my
I
bones. And I
wonder.
know it's not true, but it takes a
I
conscious effort
think,
for me to not be constantly worried that like I have to over explain, or like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say it that way. Like, I hope you understand what I actually,
yes,
it's just, ugh.
yes. To some degree, I have it. Like, I'm very, like, when I have a friendship that starts to feel very close, like, I feel very precious about it, and I'm scared something will happen to it. But I had that from even before, because, like, when I was a kid, I was moving schools all the time, and so one year I decided I'm not making friends anymore. It
Mm-hmm.
hurts too much. So
Mm-hmm.
when I was in different groups I was in, I always kind of maintained a kind of a distance. But then, funnily enough, in Nixium, I began to, like, open my heart a lot more. So that hurt,
Yeah.
and I'm very super super picky, and I've been very, what's the word? Maybe this is what you feel. For a long time, I was like, I can't trust anybody. And then I
Yeah.
was like, well, I can trust people to be who they are. Like, that I can trust.
Mm. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I trust my wife
Yes.
1000%.
Yeah.
We've been together quite a while. We know each other really well. Um, but a lot of other people, I trust them to be who they are. Like, will they abandon me if they see a shiny object? Probably, yeah. You
Mm.
know, I'm
But
not saying
you'll see
everybody,
it.
all my friends like that. You see it,
But
yeah.
I like that idea. You can trust people to be who they are. So you don't have to examine too hard. You can just see. I mean, doesn't take being in a relationship with someone for too long to be able to start seeing what the patterns are and be able to gauge if those are patterns you want to live with or not.
Yeah. Yes, but I will say what I still do. I've had a few male friendships recently that, like, because I've craved male friendship because I was raised with women. I have a lot of female friends. I've been very distant with men in general in my life because
Mm-hmm.
of, bad shit with different fathers as a kid. So I crave male friendship. And so I sometimes imbue the friendship with a lot more than is really there.
Mm.
And then I feel hurt when I realize, like, I misjudged. And then I'm very cautious for a while, you know,
Yeah.
with male friendships. With women, I feel I can be far more open generally.
That's funny. It's the exact opposite for me.
Hmm.
Always had a hard time with female friendships. Men, I just feel like I understand that it's simple. It seems kind of low drama. Like, it's very,
We're
and
pretty simple. We're pretty
yeah,
simple.
and I have always gotten on in my male friendships much more easily. But I guess that also maybe is a safe, a false sense of security, because it's like the intimacy can only go so far. So it's like somehow I maybe subconsciously know that. And so it feels safer, but I'm not actually being super vulnerable. And then
Mm.
with women, I've always had a hard time. I just didn't have sisters. I didn't have a great relationship with my mom growing up. So it's just, I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like,
Mm.
do we snuggle on the couch and be like sisters, or do we just like sit and have tea and talk politely? Like, I have no idea what to
Mm.
do.
Mm.
I'm still figuring it out.
But you write in a way that is very intimate. You know, like I was thinking about some of the places you went to. I thought, oh my God, that's honest. Oh, that's honest. It's very intimate in your writing. Like you let people in on a lot.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was going to say to you that as vulnerable as that might be, I'm not sure for you. I'm assuming it is. You give people permission to say, "Oh, I feel those things. I know
Thanks.
what that's like." You know.
I'm so glad. That was my hope. It didn't feel scary to me, that level of vulnerability, because because of that moment where I was screaming at God. Like everything broke at that point, and I just was like, I have nothing to hide. I have no pride to protect. I have nothing. What are we doing here if we're not all just being honest with each other and working our way through life? Everybody's walking around with a mask on, and we're trying to all be okay when we're not all okay. So that was my hopes, that people would read this and recognize their own deep inner voice that maybe they don't allow out so much, but that it's okay. You can survive.
Yeah, you have succeeded spectacularly with this book. There was another question I wanted to just ask you quickly before we wrap up.
Sure.
Yeah, there were two questions. The one was, what's been the response for this book came out last year, the end of last year. What's been the response from the people in your life and the people like your fellow castmates and that kind of thing?
It's been overwhelmingly loving, and I got a lot of messages I got a lot of messages when it first came out of people who read it and said, I just had no idea. I'm so sorry. I wish I knew. I wish I would have known how to do something differently. I wish I had invited you to do more things. I wish, it was really sweet. It wouldn't have made a difference. There's nothing anybody could have done differently. I was controlling the environment that I wanted to have because that's what I believed was best for me. So, but I've had some very lovely, honest conversations with people and just some apologies. And from me too, just having not been able to be fully there the way that I wanted to be and be present as a friend or a coworker. Some things I've had conversations about things that I said that hurt people in the past, or things that they said that they didn't understand why I was upset, or, like we just were able to sort of sift through a lot. So I'm grateful for that. And with my family as well, same kind of thing. Just the little things that come up that we got to just talk about it. And so it's not living in the back of our mind closets anymore.
Mm. That's awesome. And then the final thing I just wanted to ask you, and maybe I'm asking as well because I'm in the process of sort of reclaiming my spirituality. What's it like for you now? Like, have you been able to take back what is your true version of, I guess, divinity from them?
My instinct was to say yes, but I always second guess myself, which is maybe is a good thing in the context of spirituality. I think it's important to always be asking questions. So I would like to say yes. I don't think that what I experienced from them, I guess if anything, it spurred me on to understanding the difference between something that is a counterfeit and what's real. Because you can't have a counterfeit unless there's a real version of it somewhere. So I think in my Ramani Durvasula, Dr. Ramani says this a lot, that when you, or I've heard her say it before, that when you get out of a narcissistic relationship, you become an investigator and you just want to figure out what the hell happened. So you start picking everything apart. And because my group was centered around faith, that's what I became. I became a detective in my faith. I'm not calling it a religion because I really don't. Fundamentally, I don't believe in religion. That's a longer story, but I became a detective of faith, and I explored lots of different religions. I explored different faiths and ideas, and I now am moving from a place of approaching things with logic and the beautiful mystery of faith and my relationship with God, and that all still exists because it always will, because we can never understand everything. But for me now, it's less about just believing something that makes me feel good, which is ultimately what I was doing in the past, and trying to decipher, as I said, a process of elimination, like, all right, what makes the most sense? What makes the most sense for me? What makes the most sense for humanity in general? Like, what, if there is something that approaches truth, what might that be? And how could I determine that using the scientific method, the hypotheses, and looking at the fruit of what all the different paths lead to. So I do think I broke free from what they were trying to teach me about God, and it spurred me on to something that feels much more authentic. I still consider myself a Christian, although that word is very tempestuous in our culture right now. And so I guess I just prefer to say that I believe the Christ story. I believe in Jesus, but there's a lot of logic that's gone into getting me to that point. And now I think God's really big and really capable of communicating with people in a way that they can understand. And it's not my job to fix everything.
Amen.
Sorry if that was long-winded. I hope it made sense.
No. I was thinking as well, like the way you describe that voice in your book, I was like, yeah, I've heard that voice many times. Yeah. And what's interesting is the way you described it. It's like this warmth. It's not temperature.
Yeah.
It's something entirely different. It's like a I don't know, I hate to say the word vibes or vibration, but there's something to it that's just so unique.
Yeah.
And it defies words. And when you wrote that, I was like, yeah, I know what that is. Well, I know what my version is.
Yeah, you know what it feels like to you. And that you can't manufacture it and you can't reach it. I think that's the big thing, the takeaway for me is, as you're talking about the gatekeepers of all these religions and like, here's all the things you have to do. I can never reach it. There's nothing I could ever do to reach it and find that voice or manufacture that. So that's just something that I get to be here as a human having an experience and trust that source is going to speak to me, that God's going to speak to me at the right moments. And when I say speak to, see that also can sound kind of,
sure.
You know what I mean? Like the feeling, you sense things, I don't know. It's all a mystery. We're all working so many things out.
It's a huge, huge mystery. I want to say again, an amazing book. I'd love my audience, please get the book, Dinner for Vampires. You'll understand the title when you read the book. And, there it is. Yay.
There it is.
Dinner for Vampires. And Joy, you are a spectacular human being. And, such a brave soul.
You too, Mark.
Thank
I'm
you.
so impressed. I'm so grateful I got to talk with you. Thank you.
There will be more.
Yes.
There will be more. And to my audience, as always, please, for the love of God, stay curious.